We're living on a disk, floating through space, with a tiny sun.
Hey, I'm FTFE and welcome back to the channel that does to stupidity what Bev Try Thinking just did to the Flat Earth movement. Today is a monumental day because ever since I've been involved in this whole Flat Earth debate, one of the, I want to say main people on the flat side has been Ranty Flat Earth. He's been one of the main people on the Flat Earth side that goes out and tries to provide evidence. He's been involved in the big Flat Earth debate shows like with Nathan Oakley, etc. A bit of a partnership with Sleeping Warrior was going on for quite a while. And then obviously started his own Flat Earth debate show on his channel, Ranty Roundtable, and has been a major part of the Flat Earth movement. However, a few days ago, he released a video on Baldycat's channel explaining why he is no longer a flat earther and that he has finally found the evidence that helped him to come back to the globe side. And today we're going to have a talk with the man himself. Ranty, welcome to the channel. How are you doing? Yes, you're a little bit quiet. Maybe get the mic a wee bit closer if possible. That's better. That's better. So first off, I want to say congratulations for being honest. And I'm not saying that you were ever dishonest, but it's such a trend that I see with flat earthers to just deny. And to see someone as involved in the debate as you look at some evidence and be objectively honest with it was quite uplifting for me. And well done to you for doing that. And I want to pass it over to you now, and I'd like you to just talk a little bit about the evidence that has been presented and why in particular that has brought you back to the globe side. And then we're going to get a bit into about what it was like being a flat earther. But I know a lot of people are here because they want to hear you talk about why this particular evidence has brought you back over. So introduce yourself for people who don't know and just maybe a couple of minutes explain what's going on. Oh, 1 second. 1 second. I have not routed the audio through for you properly, so bear with me. Something is going on there. My bad, guys. Um, Cable D, that one. Give me a mic check, sorry. Could you just say something? See if you're coming through. Can you hear me? Oh, what have I've bloody done the wrong one. Um, Sorry, I'm screwing this all up. Uh, yeah, sorry, give me 1 sec. Right, can you just give me a mic check a sec? Can you hear me? Oh my God, why? Can you hear me, Ranty? Should be going through. Um, can you not hear me? Uh, I don't know why I've screwed this up. Where is it? Microphone. All right. Can you hear me now, Ranty? 1 second. It was working just now and then it stopped. Right, okay. Right, can you hear me now?
I
Right,
can
can
hear
you
you.
hear me?
Yes,
Yes,
I
there
can
we
hear
go.
you.
Right. Now they should be able to hear you. Sorry about that, guys.
Perfect.
Right, yeah, sorry about that. They heard me, but not you. So, yeah, I'm going to pass it over to you and let you explain what's going on with this. So, apologies. Let's start that again.
Okay, right. So yeah, I'm Ranty Flat Earth, or what's that? What that used to be the name. And yeah, the reason, because there's been a lot of speculation why I changed my name from Ranty Flat Earth to Ranty some months ago, and basically it was just because when I was hosting the debates, the Ranty's Round Table, I was seeing a lot of people typing to me Ranty without putting the flat earth on, but it wasn't highlighting. So if you've ever run a live stream or anything like that, you'll see that you get a highlighted comment and you're able to follow the chat a little bit better. So when I was having 250, 280 people there listening to the show, it was quite difficult to follow the chat and catch every Ranty and people getting really frustrated. So I just changed my name back to Ranty. So that's one thing. So I wasn't going back to the globe back then. In fact, you know, I'd given up on the whole thing, basically. I'd actually had a really tough year last year, and I gave Brandon the keys to the show and allowed him to take over for a time. That was the original premise, was he was going to just do it for a short time. And it turned out, actually, when I stopped doing all the hours that I was doing there, and, you know, just started watching some TV and just chilling out and just, you know, just taking myself out of that situation, it felt good. And, you know, I mean, I had a lot going on, as I say, and it just felt like it was the right time for me to step away. And to be honest, I was still a flat earther even till, 2 months ago, you know, and I say even then, maybe even just a week ago, let's say. So I can hear that bit of feedback there anyway, right? Okay, so yeah, so what happened 2 months ago was I saw this image popped up, and yeah, it was just such a stunning image of Blackpool, and you don't often get to see great imagery like that from, you know, of Blackpool. And I've been to Southport before, and I've seen Blackpool Tower. Yeah, that's the one. Yeah. And you know, and you don't get to see that very often, you know. And it was such a picturesque image, and basically it was just a normal guy going out with his camera, and he's taken this photograph and he's selling it for charity, actually. So this image is actually being sold for charity on his Twitter, and I think he's made an astonishing amount so far. I think he's made £1,900 already from this image, right? Oh, wow. So yeah, and I'm not surprised, because it's a fantastic image. And what he'd done is he'd posted it on a Facebook group, you know, that was like for Blackpool area, and it popped up on my Facebook stream. And I thought, wow, what a great image. And then the next thing, you know, most people think, what a nice image. And I thought, what a nice image. Yeah, let's check that against the curve calculator then. And, you know, I thought it was such a good image to back up the research that I'd done, you know, of shore-to-shore observations in and around that location, that I just thought, this will be the nail in the coffin for the globe here. Absolutely, no problem. And yeah, and I've been asking for 5 years for any kind of curvature where I live, you know, because I didn't see it. I never saw this type of drop or anything like that. And then this image pops up, and I find it myself, and I analyze it myself, and I realize that I've got a big problem. I've realized that I'm out of the debate so far. I've moved away from flat Earth essentially, but, you know, there's a conflict here, and my conscience got the better of me, and I decided to poke my nose back into this argument and tell everybody what I'd found, basically, and say that, you know what, this shows substantial drop. There's no denying it. And I couldn't, even though I'd analysed it for the past 2 months and tried to extrapolate every kind of flat Earth argument and use it in this image, and try to say, you know, perspective compression, anything, you know, sinking. It doesn't matter whatever I came up with, it failed the test. And, you know, Sherlock Holmes says, you know, if you exclude all other things, then the only thing that's left is the truth. And that was the truth. The truth was that there was a substantial amount of that mountain missing, and it was definitely drop. And it certainly wouldn't have been the case on a flat plane that you would get this image. And it was very simple.
So one thing that a lot of people have been asking, and I just want to clarify towards the start of this, is how much influence did Conspiracy Cats have over this? Because everyone knows now that you have started your collaboration with Cats with the incredible podcast you guys have, the Almost Unbelievable podcast. I'll show that for you for a second. If you guys have not checked out the Almost Unbelievable podcast, then please go and find it on Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts, because I've listened to every single one, and it's honestly one of the best podcasts that you can just, you know, you're doing stuff, you just have it playing. It's so interesting. You get lost in what's being said. And they've also been nominated for an award, which is kind of basically like the podcast Oscars, which is amazing for their first season. So if you want to go and check them out, then I would highly recommend it. You want a new thing to latch onto, to binge, check out the Almost Unbelievable podcast. It's incredible. But yeah, besides your good work, how much influence did Conspiracy Cats have over your decision to become a Glober?
None. In fact, when we started talking, it would have been, I think it was about September, October, sort of like the end of October. I think we were first started talking at the end of October. I think Conspiracy Cat sent me a message on Skype at the start of October and asked me, would I consider doing a podcast with him? And I just completely ignored him. And then he got back to me 3 weeks later or something and asked the same thing. And I thought, well, he's reached out twice now. I'll ask what he's, what he's going for here, what he's trying to, get from me. And turned out that, actually speaking to him, he was a really reasonable person. We actually met up in person, and I remember it. We had to meet outside because there was nowhere open, and you was wearing your mask, and you had to stand 2 meters away, and it was pissing down with rain, and it was freezing cold. I swear to God. Oh my God. Yeah. And he'd done his leg in, so he was hobbling around. It was funny how. I just had me operate. I think I just had my operation for my hernia. So
this sounds like the funniest meeting ever. I wish I'd been there.
And yeah, we just had a good time. We talked, and we ironed out some some ideas, and met face to face. You can't beat meeting somebody face to face, because when you do, you can actually tell if they're genuine or not. And he seemed really genuine. And quite honestly, we said there and then, we won't discuss Flat Earth. In fact, Flat Earth was never to be discussed between us. We were just going to steer away from that. We didn't need it in our podcast existence, and we didn't need it in our budding friendship, let's say. We didn't need to discuss it. It was something it was a bridge we didn't need to cross, and we stuck to that completely until I saw this image, and I said, tell you what, Katz, I think I found proof of curvature. I don't want to build your hopes up here, but you should take a look at this image. And I sent it to Ruhif, and I said it to the same to him, and basically they had no input with this with me, because I sent it to them, and I pushed it for Conspiracy Cats to actually push this video out, because he has been sitting on this for 2 months, and he's been doing other things, and he's a bit scatterbrained, and he watches Star Trek and all that kind of stuff, and he, getting him to do, a video.
I'm nearly finished Voyager again.
Getting him to do a video like this, it was like, oh, okay, I've nearly done it. I'll have it out this week. I'll start it next week. I thought you'd started it the week before. No, well, yeah,
Ranty, right, here's one thing about Cats. Me and him have been planning a collaboration about Sleeping Warrior for nearly 2 years.
Okay, good luck with him getting around to that. By the way, he isn't in the chat, but I did speak to him before we went live, and he is listening in bed. So
yeah, he did say.
I hope your ears are burning.
Yeah. Yeah, good job, Katz. So yeah, no, Katz did say to me that he wasn't involved. It was all you, and you came to him, and I just wanted to, you to have the chance to say that, from your own mouth, so people know that you weren't influenced by Conspiracy Cats, because there's been. We'll get to it in a bit, but there's been a lot of insinuations about you from the Flat Earth side being bought off, etc., etc. So, I've got a list of questions that I'd like to go through about your experience as a Flat Earther. Now, before I do that, I want to say, if anyone's got any questions for Ranty, we will try and get to those towards the end. Obviously, super chats will be read out first. But if you've got any other questions, tag either for Shanty or ScytheDK in the chat, and they will relay the questions to me. And, Ranty doesn't have to answer. If he feels like answering a question, then that's fine. But, please don't try and be nasty or anything or personal. I want this to be a happy thing for everybody. So, yeah. Right. So, Ranty, the first thing I wanted to talk about was when you got into the Flat Earth. When did that start, and what kind of first, brought you into that?
Well, I had a channel that I'd, built up, putting out videos about chemtrails, basically, and I could see chemtrails in the sky. I put videos out about them, but after 400 videos of them, I got a bit tired of just putting the same stuff out and bored. And as you do, you start looking at other conspiracies, and Flat Earth was always, on the peripherals. It was always popping up in the search feeds, and I actually thought to myself, I am never going to click one of those ever. It's retarded. It's ridiculous. I just didn't want to look. I didn't want to look at them. And it got to the point though where I'd binged so much on every conspiracy that this was literally the last one that I was going to look at. And I can't even remember what the videos were. I think I watched 3 or 4 videos, and it showed a calculation. This is a calculation. This is how far you should see on a globe. But here we are looking at this building over here, and it's far further than you should on a globe. The Earth is flat. And I thought, hey, that's interesting. And then another video and another video. So I watched about 4, I don't know, maybe, I'm saying 4. It could have been 6 or 8 over a period of 2 or 3 days. I don't know. It wasn't long. And I just decided to go and buy a P900 because I live next to the ocean, obviously. And I thought I could just go out and I could film around and see what's what. And my first video that I ever put out was about Blackpool Tower, and it included flat Earth in it. And I didn't realize at the time that Sleeping Warrior was having some massive hissy fit with a guy, what was he called? Dazza the cameraman. So he's having a massive hissy fit with him and arguing with Sean Hufford and all this, and Slice Barkane or whatever, about Blackpool and about flat Earth. And when I put this video out, he thought that it was a hit piece on him. So he titled the stream something like, oh, it looks like I have another admirer, Ranty Rant. And, you know, I thought, hey, I've never had a video made against me. I've had 400 videos put out on chemtrails. Nobody ever put a hit piece out me. The first video I put out about flat Earth, I've got this guy putting a hit piece out. And I watched his video, then halfway through he actually says, oh, actually, he might be a flat earther. And then he got in touch with me, and you know, I wasn't able to escape then because, you know, he was there all the time, you know, messaging me, asking me to come do observations with him, you know, so it kind of hooked me into that lifestyle back then, which, to be fair, I might have only done half a dozen videos on them myself and then just disappeared because I didn't even know there was a community. I didn't know there was trolling. I didn't know that people did videos about it. I didn't know there was live debates about this. I had no idea. I didn't know what I was getting myself into when I put that first video out. And I certainly didn't know what I was getting into when I first corresponded with Sleeping Warrior. But that's how I ended up, you know, getting into this situation. And then, of course, you know, you get other people putting videos, hit piece videos out about you, and I'm a very proud person, so you know, when you get a hit piece against you, my initial response was to prove them wrong. So that's what made me stick around, basically.
Fair enough. So interestingly about the hit pieces, obviously that's kind of what I do. You know, I'm not really ashamed to say that that's kind of my shtick. And there was one point early on in my career on YouTube where I asked the audience if I should do a video about you or Sleeping Warrior, and they told me to do Sleeping Warrior. So I've never done a video about you, and I never got round to it, and I'm kind of glad that I never did now. The audience made me choose Sleeping Warrior instead. So how long ago was that you were brought into it by Sleeping Warrior and stuff?
I'd say it was about 5 years ago. It was around that time. We put some videos out with a P900 way back when, and yeah, before 2017, and we went up to Hoy Lake, put the videos out there. So, you know, I couldn't put an exact date on it, but it was around that time, you know, so
okay.
4.5, 5 years, something like that.
Your time in the Flat Earth, have you had positive experiences, you know, friends that you've made and stuff, you know, things that you wouldn't have done if you hadn't been involved in the debate?
Passing friends, I would say. Friends that would appear to be friends that ultimately, you know, didn't turn out to be friends, you know. And that was the hard part, is that, you know, you could invest a lot of time with people, do a lot of collaboration with people, only to end up getting burned by them for the most ridiculous of things, or petty things, or whatever.
Yeah.
And, you know, fair weather friends, I think my mum would call them. And
you spent a lot of time on Nathan. You spent a lot of time on Nathan Oakley's show, didn't you? Especially a couple of years ago when I was first getting into this, you were pretty much on Nathan Oakley's show most of the time, and you got burned pretty hard by them even kind of before you left Flat Earth, didn't you?
Well, yeah, I was sort of pushing against Nathan has his debate, and it's titled Flat Earth Debate. And to have a debate, you need to have an argument. You need to listen to two sides of a story. And in the original layout of that show, that was the case. It originally was that, where, you know, in fact, most of the time it was Globers that were in en masse, and very few flat earthers. And, you know, it was more of a globe earth show essentially to start with, until more flat earthers started to come in. And then I think around the time that Quantum Eraser came in, it started to change, and this rhetoric started to come out, and it became more of preaching then. And then it was a case of, there is no debate anymore. In fact, what Nathan will do is he'll allow people to just talk generally, like we're doing now, the start of the show, how you doing, what you know, blah, 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 blah. But if you got a Glober come in and they asked a question, it wasn't one of the panelists that were allowed to answer, and it still isn't the case. You'll listen now, or a panelist may answer for 1 or 2 questions, you know, have maybe 30 seconds conversation with the Glober, but then Nathan butts in, and then he takes over completely, and he spends the next 10 minutes shouting and screaming at the guy, muting him, not letting him say what he wants to say. And that's the same on every show. And so, you know, all the people that go in there, people like you and myself, people with real feelings, go in there to have a debate. They're not being given the opportunity to debate, and it's especially poor on the Globers because they do not get an opportunity to speak at all.
No.
And I really didn't like that. I didn't like the way he talked to people. I didn't like the way that he ignored the panelists that he was bringing in, which was people, you know, he's still got some of the guys there, 10th Man Arwin, you know, those guys, you know, they've hung around him for years, and, you know, they get pushed to the side. As soon as somebody comes in, their voice might as well just be there just to say hello. They might just be a part of the wall furniture for all, you know, for all the use that they are. You know, they're only there to repeat what Nathan says. And not to have an input of their own, or have any thoughts of their own, or any debating. You know, they're not allowed to actually participate in a debate. And because even if they were allowed to get participating in a debate, what would happen is that he would use the mute button, jump in himself, and then he would take over, and then he would just scream and shout at them, and that would, and then he'd kick them. Come back tomorrow. You know.
From what I've seen watching Nathan's debates, I don't like saying debates because they're really not, is you just have to, as a panelist, sit there and go, yes, Nathan, no, Nathan, as he asks his housekeeping questions, and you just have to follow the script. And then he just berates people, you know, and it's not fun. And even, I don't understand how flat earthers can stay on there and, you know, push Nathan as like an authority. It's not a good look for the flat earth side. But, okay, so you had quite a partnership. Sorry, go on.
Well, I spoke out, and, you know, I was saying to him that you can't carry on like this. You've got to give the Globers an opportunity to speak. Otherwise, you're going to, you know, at the time, there was a boycott going on. The Globers were boycotting, and what they were doing, they were watching the stream through the Discord channel and talking about it in Discord. So all the Globers that would have normally come in, Gem Panda, etc., they were having their conversation in Discord, right, rather than having it on his stream. And, you know, so that debate wasn't happening anymore. The Globers were striking against his show. And I said to him, look, you're not going to win him back by being the way you are. You've got to adapt. You've got to change. He didn't want to listen. And I was trying to make change for about, let's say a month. And then I just decided, you know what, I'll just have to set one up myself. It's as simple as that, because he isn't listening. He's not willing to change. He's got his little script that allows him to get just enough super chats and just enough Patreonage for him to pay his bills, so he doesn't have to work. So he's not really bothered. So as long as he's got that coming in, and he's got his format and his people that are going to keep doing that, he's not interested in the debate. You know.
No. Not at all.
It works for him. What he's got works for him. It pays his bills. So as long as it works for him and it pays his bills, and he only has to do an hour's work every day, he's over the moon, right? But that doesn't help all the other people that actually want to have a debate. So why host a flat Earth debate if it's not a fucking debate? I'm sorry if I'm swearing, but it's
no. This is FTFE. Swearing is absolutely allowed. And you're right. It's not a debate. And since I've been in this, I've been asking Nathan to come and talk to me on a neutral channel. I don't want him on my channel. I would never, ever bring Nathan Oakley on my channel. I wouldn't sully my channel with his presence. And I've never really wanted to go on his channel. I've always said, how about you and I have a conversation on a neutral channel? And his response to me has always been, if you suck my balls whilst looking me in the eyes. I mean, why do you think Nathan is so afraid to go outside of his own channel?
Well, it's vile and it's juvenile. And when he says stuff like that, people super chat him. If you watch, you know, whenever a Glober comes in, and the more angry he gets, the more irate he gets, the more people give him money for that. So it's, you know, he needs the Glober to come in, and he needs that explosion, because when he gets the explosion, he gets his tips for the day, and then he's earned his money, and that's how it
Yeah.
works.
Do you think that Nathan Oakley is legitimately a flat earther?
I think so. I mean, I know a lot of people say that he isn't, but I mean, I spent years talking to the guy, and he is a family man, obviously, and he he loves his kids, and as a flat earther, I would say he's absolutely a flat earther. I've never got the impression that he isn't.
Okay, all right, that's fair enough. Yeah, there is a lot of rumors about whether he was or not a certain conversation he had on the side chat with Sleeping Warrior, which can be interpreted in many ways. But it just concerns me that he will never step outside of his channel because he could still make content from that. If he stepped outside of his channel and went on to like modern day debates or something, he could then take the clips of modern day debate and put it on his channel and still make content. So the fact that he won't ever leave his channel made me wonder about his sincerity. But anyway, so you got out of being on Nathan's show, but you still did have a little partnership with Sleeping Warrior. There was, it was Ranty and Ranty and Sleeping Warrior. It was kind of the duo. How did that come about?
As I said, that's it. He was the first person that I met in this argument. He was the first person to contact me. So he, in a way, in fact, before I met anybody, right, get this. So before I met any real flat earthers, apart from maybe, what was he called? Another guy that used to host another debate platform. I can't remember his name off the top of my head now. Anyway, so I met Sleeping Warrior, and then he happily introduced me to all of his trolls, like the good boy that he is, and he set them all on me. So I don't know why that was, but basically by interacting with him, I immediately got all the trolls after me. And then how did it work out that? Well, I mean, if somebody's messaging you every day, it's rude to ignore them. And
yeah,
he was messaging me every day, and he was asking me questions, and he was saying, what am I going to be doing? What filming am I going to do today? Could I analyze this image? What do you think of this? What do you think of this video? And it was all the time. It was constant. So he was just a constant there kind of person. So I don't know why it was, because we met a few times. We met, I don't know, 5 times maybe or something.
But then you and Sleeping Warrior fell out quite hard after you did a charity stream for Roxanne, didn't you?
It was leading up to the fallout was leading up to that anyway. It was all to do with the COVID.
That's right.
That was
he did a video about both you and I saying that we were stupid as each other because we couldn't death rate. Yeah, I remember that. And then you did the fundraiser for Roxanne, which was a good thing to do. And anyone that goes to do a fundraiser is doing a good thing for somebody else. It's money that they wouldn't have otherwise. And what happened with that? Because there was a big fallout from that.
Well, yeah, at the time. So Roxanne and myself were both of the opinion that there was going to be lockdowns, and that there was a chance that we were going to lose jobs, food was going to run out, etc. Right? So we were wrong about the food running out, but we were certainly right about the lockdowns. We were certainly right about people losing their jobs, etc. And Sleeping Warrior was, going around saying that none of that was going to happen. Nobody was going to have any time off work, etc., etc., etc. So when this all came about, I think for about 3 days prior, Roxanne had been saying to me how she was going to be struggling to, buy food in and prepare, and she was worried because she wanted to have supplies in for the impending lockdown and the potential of running out of food, etc. And both of us back then, we were quite nervous of the situation. We didn't know what this was, what was going to happen in this pandemic. And I suppose, there was Paige as well that we were talking to as well. Well, I was talking to. So that triangle of people constantly sending each other messages and dire warnings to each other and all the most, the worst potential that could happen had us really freaked out. And you would see if you watched some of my streams back then that you could tell that I was really concerned for everybody, and especially when she said that she had no money to buy foods, etc., blah 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 blah. And we'd been speaking during the day, and I just thought to myself, you know what, I'm going to give her a shout out tonight. I'm just going to shout her out and say, look, you know, Roxanne's in this position, and I know that my audience always listens to me, you know, when I put a shout out for things like that. I could say, like, for instance, Travis recently did a GoFundMe, and within an hour or so of me shouting out his GoFundMe, he had £1,000 in his GoFundMe, right? So
yeah,
you know, so I have the potential, you know, to put something out and get people to help out, and I use my platform for that purpose. And I said, look, you know, if you can help Roxanne out, please go to a PayPal and give her some money, you know, because she wants to get some food in, she wants to get some groceries in, she wants to stock up, and she's struggling right now. So if you can really help her, please help her out. And I think throughout the entire stream, I mentioned that about, I don't know, maybe 25 times, and I posted a link in the chat about, again, probably 20 times. And, you know, it was quite clear that, you know, I wanted people to support her on a PayPal. And what happened was that during the stream, at some point halfway through or something, somebody put a comment inside of a super chat and said, for Roxanne, or something like that, or along the lines of, you know, to Roxanne or something. And I said, oh, you've had a super chat, Roxanne. Oh, I'll give you that on Friday. I didn't know what to expect. I didn't ask for it in the super chat. And then Sam Hain came in, and he hadn't spoken to me for ages. And he'd been over to Roxanne's PayPal, and he'd given her a donation in a PayPal. So he'd supported her there privately. But what happened was Pete Shea had asked me a question about, you know, what had happened to Sam Hain. So I started telling them the story about what had happened and how he'd disappeared for months. It turned out he'd been gone for like 7 months, hadn't supported the show at all. Nobody'd seen hide in the hair of him. And, you know, everyone was having a go at him because he was saying, oh, you shouldn't have tried dictating to your show, etc., blah, 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 blah. And you did the right thing. Next thing you know, Sam Hain's in the chat giving us a donation, you know, to me. And, you know, he's basically saying in the chat, you know, I didn't do that. That isn't how I remember it. You know, I've just had a new baby, blah, 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 blah. And, you know, that was clearly not for Roxanne. And, you know, when I emailed him afterwards and asked him and said, look, you know, did you want that money to go to Roxanne? Did you want it to go to me? He said, oh, no, it was for you. I said, yeah, I felt that way. You know, I felt that anyway. And, you know, there was never a stream for Roxanne. It was never
So the stream wasn't set up
show.
as a GoFundMe, you know, promotion for Roxanne. It just happened that during your stream you started shouting it out, and then a couple of people donated super chats meant for Roxanne. Yeah,
like at the start of this stream when you turned around and you said, go and support the Almost Unbelievable channel, go and subscribe over there. Basically, it was a big shout out, and that's what I did at the start of the show. I gave her a big shout out, said, please go and support her on a PayPal. She needs some money right now. If you can help her out, please go and help her out. You know, if you can just afford £1 or £2, that would be great. You know, please help her out. And that's what I said. And, you know, people did. People went over en masse, and they went in there and they supported her to a substantial amount of money, actually. She got several £100s for, you know, directly into her PayPal.
Yeah.
And
which is great when a community comes together like that.
Yeah, it was. The problem was that, you know, and me and Roxanne didn't even discuss that afterwards. In fact, all the people that gave money and said this is for Roxanne in a super chat, I actually gave that to her. You know, even though, you know, I had no intention, had no reason to give her it from the super chats, because that was never a, you know, the stream was for me, and I just gave her a shout out. People got confused, and, you know, they were putting in the super chats, oh, this is for Roxanne. So I made good on those promises, and then, you know, the people that gave to the show gave to me, and, you know, I kept that money. So it was that's how it worked out. But Sleeping Warrior decided that he would try and, you know, find a legal loophole somehow,
because he's such a good lawyer,
to try and sue me for it, and get Roxanne to sign off on that and take me to court for it. And you know, even though the whole community was telling him you ain't got a cat and else chance, he wouldn't believe them. And, you know, I went to court, obviously, and duly won my case, which was no, you know, there was no.
So he actually raised a proper court case against you to try and get the money that you earned on that stream.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
It transpired as well. I mean, get this, yeah. So Sam Hain, when I revealed all this to the community, because, you know, it was all a lot of skullduggery going on and backstabbing, and you know, but what had happened was on the night that I, told everyone about this, Sam Hain had already been in touch with me because Sleeping Warrior had messaged him earlier because it was going on behind the scenes. We were having this back and forth saying, no, he didn't give it to her. He gave that to me. And he'd messaged Sam Hain. And then Sam Hain asked me to ring him. So I rang him up and I recorded the phone call with Sam Hain. And he turned around and he said, do you want me to give you the money and then you can just give it to Roxanne? I'll put money into your PayPal so you can give her. I said, mate, no way, that's not happening, because that was never the intention. I'm not having you put your hand in your pocket again and give him money. They've been pissed off. That wasn't, you didn't give them that money. And there's no way you're going to give me the money and then I'm going to give it to her and I'm going to be some kind of hero. They can get stuffed. I've got better principles than that. There's no way that's going to happen. And he wasn't the only one. I think it was JQ also offered as well. JQ said, look, can I give you the money for it? Can I put money into your bank and you just pay her? And I'm like, no. So this is two people in the community wanting to, pay her off because he didn't want to see this big fallout, this big argument over money, which is understandable, I suppose. But to me, it was more about principle. I didn't do anything wrong. I never intended to rip anybody off or anything like that, even though they were trying to make it out. And it was such a fallacious load of bollocks. It was all just crap. I mean, anyone could look through what went down and just understand that. And, it was just made up to get at me. It was just basically a get at me. And I'm pretty sure that, I know Sleeping Warrior was behind it because he wrote the file against me to the courts, etc.
Well, that's when you knew you were fine, is when he started doing the lawyer stuff, because he's not a very good lawyer. So
no, he's not a very good lawyer. He's not. In fact, he's very poor at a lot of things, to be fair.
I've noticed this. I've definitely noticed this. So,
but here's the kicker. Yeah. I found out recently that Roxanne, another member of the community, bearing in mind, after I revealed all this to the community and said what was going on and what they were trying to do, paid off Roxanne. Paid her off, gave her all the money, gave her into a PayPal, and then she still took me to court. Not that it was not that it was the money that she was suing me for, but I'm just saying, a member of the community still that I know of. There could have been more people that all on this big hoo-ha scam fucking bullshit thing that they were trying to pull over me. But I stood my ground, and I won it. Absolutely, I would rather have gone to court and have it all exposed to expose them than go behind and take somebody else's money to pay them off. I would rather expose myself to that and have people think what they think of me. Because I knew I was telling the truth, and I wasn't trying to be I wasn't trying to be anything other than just me, and I wasn't trying to rip anybody off or anything like that. I was being completely honest. And it's all just
no good deed goes unpunished, eh?
Exactly, that's the way it seems.
Yeah. Okay. So there was a lot of animosity towards you from Sleeping Warrior and his followers, and you were out of touch with the Nathan.
I wouldn't say their followers.
Crew.
I wouldn't say his followers. Just a few people that hang around with it. There's just a very small clique.
Yeah, his clique, I think.
Maybe 10 or 12 people at most.
Yeah. Those were the only ones who had let those were the only comments he would allow to stay on his channel. So it almost appeared, if you go to Sleeping Warrior's channel, it appeared as though everyone was on his side, because those were the only comments that he would allow to stay on the videos. Did any of the animosity ever make you doubt the flat Earth because of that's the kind of people, or were you able to separate the nasty people with the evidence?
It was all about the evidence for me. I wasn't really fussed about the people in the community. I just assumed that, that you are going to have good people and bad people, and maybe the people that I trusted inside the community as being friends had actually turned out to actually not be friends, and that they may have had different agendas all along or what have you. And I was able to still differentiate that from what I still believed. I could look at them and think, I could look at Sleeping Warriors videos and think, oh, he's put another video out, and I'd look at it and I'd go, the Globers are going to have a field day with that, and
oh, Ranty.
What can I do? I have to put up with that. He's in the community, and I'm like, I'm just like, whatever. And you have to put up with it. There's a reason he gets nominated each year for the same award. It's because of the amount of crap he puts out. but he's
Yeah,
still, you know, a flat earther. So
yeah. When I'm writing a video about Sleeping Warrior, by the time I finish writing that video, I have to start on the next one already because he's already released something else that's incredibly dumb. But okay, so you are and always have been about the evidence, and you've done a lot of observations using the P900, right?
mhm. And the
Was the
P1000.
and so did you get the cameras, the P900 and the P1000, because of your interest in flat Earth, or did you already have those?
No, I watched those videos, and within like 3 days or so of watching the videos of a flat Earth video, I went out and I bought a P900 for myself, and
Right.
then that's how I got the first P900, and then when the P1000 came out, we ran a GoFundMe for a P1000, and the community rallied together and they bought a P1000 for me. So now I
Right.
had two cameras. So I had a P900 that I'd bought, and I had the P1000 that the community had bought. And I ended up giving away the P900 camera that I'd bought for £1,000. I gave it away to Arwin for him to do a lot of research locally to him, which he said he was going to do because he was running a GoFundMe himself
Hmm.
for a P900 and had been for about 5 or 6 weeks. Unfortunately, I think I was only one of maybe 3 people that had made a donation to that GoFundMe at that time. So I think he only had amassed maybe £100 or something of the target. And I was listening to his shows and getting incredibly frustrated to hearing him beg for money for this P900 because he really wanted to do some photography. And so I decided, you know what, I'm just sick of hearing this. I'm going to give him the P900. So I gave him the P900, expecting him to go out every day and do lots of videos and improve his well-being and his, you know, psychological state. Because obviously, it's quite. If you watch him, you can tell that he's probably needs to get out a little bit more.
Hmm.
Um, and I thought that that would be a good thing for him, and also he'd have different content. And apart from, I've only ever seen one photograph of his that he's ever put out, which was of the moon taken from his balcony. And besides that, it's just sat on a shelf, I think,
That
you
must have been a
know,
little bit of
in
a kick
the
in the
inside.
chest, being that generous and not having anything done with it.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Mm-hmm.
so okay, so you use the cameras to gather observation for you because you were always interested in the optical phenomenon of the flat Earth argument, right? It was that you didn't care about the rotation or gravity or anything like that. You were always about the opticals, right?
100%. Yeah, that's all I was interested in.
So how did you convince yourself using the P900 and the P1000 that the Earth was flat?
Uh, well, there's the thing, you see. So you could go down to the beach where I live, and you know, you could say I've been down to digging a trench in the sand right next to the water, right, and putting my camera in it so that the camera lens is no more than just a few centimeters above the water, a few centimeters, and I'm looking at some buildings 18 miles away on the shoreline, and I'm seeing them shore to shore, right?
Yeah,
So absolute shore to shore observations, and it's not like it was a one off. You know, this was like pretty much every time I went down there, you know, you could go down to a foot, 3 feet, 4 feet, and you could see shore to shore. And it didn't really matter how many times I went, it was always the same. And from that, I had to conclude that there was no earth curvature. I had to conclude that because, you know, if you're seeing those distances and and it's a regular thing, it's not nothing out of the normal to not see that distance from those heights, then that there had to be something, to be flatness going on there. Of course, that was only on days where you had clear weather. Those are the days when you see the boats fade into an inferior mirage. They would actually turn into an inferior mirage, and then you would see lots of inferior mirages. So I'd
yeah.
started investigating things like that, and then all the other optical effects that came in, and I started going on to shoaling and the swell and all this kind of things, the rolling deck of the ocean and how that works, and the topography of the water. That was
Yeah.
important.
And was there anything that you ever did with your own equipment that made you think that, oh, maybe I'm wrong and the Earth is a globe? Or did you always come to the conclusion that it's flat?
I never saw anything that I couldn't explain myself locally. So any image that I took from my cameras down on the beach where I would go down and film, any of those observations that I took there, I could always explain them away.
Okay.
So
And
as a flat earther, my objective was not disproving the globe. It was proving that these effects that we're seeing and can happen on a flat plane. That was what I was doing. It wasn't to falsify the globe. It was to say, you have your model and you have standard refraction as your get out of jail card, and we are flat earthers and we see these effects, but can we now explain these effects on a plane in order to counter your standard refraction, so that there was no observation that could come up where I could say, well, when we're filming over water and you see this effect, we can't explain that. And that's what I tried to do. It was always just a counter to the globe, to present an opposing argument.
Okay. Did you ever have any doubts that you were right? Did you ever, was there ever at the back of your mind any niggling thoughts that maybe it is a globe and my conclusions are wrong?
Yeah, the first time I ever thought that was when, you would say there's a hierarchy in the flat Earth, right? And that's the way it appears,
I think so.
And you've got some people that you would, perhaps class as tier 1 flat earthers, and then tier 2, and right down to the tier 10, people that just talk in the chat, and just, don't have any content. You could literally scale it like that, let's say. And, Bob Nodell, Globebusters, he's got to be
Bob.
one of the higher tiers, let's say. So he's a part of FE Core. I was a part of FE Core, and some time ago now, it would have been, I don't know, maybe 18 months ago or 20 months ago, around that time, something like that. And there was a guy called Stephen P who was building a mechanical gyroscope, and it was being promoted all over Globebusters and on FE Core as well. And I was part of that inner circle, so I was privy to that information. I was privy to the people that were aware of what was going on, and the build that was going, and how much it was costing, and what he was doing, and where he was doing the tests, and what the tests were showing. And I had this private conversation with Stephen P, and what he'd done is he'd set his gyroscope, or he built this gyroscope up, and it was able to get up to 10,000 revs per minute. And it was pretty accurate, right up to, well, it was incredibly accurate. Let's say 100% accurate, up to about 5,000 revs. And when it started to slow down, it started to lose its, the gyroscope didn't work as well. So as long as you could measure between 10,000 and say 5,000 RPMs, it was accurate enough to get a measure. And what it was showing when he did it going forward and when he did it in reverse, so he reversed it as well so that it would be going in the opposite direction. So if it was a fault in the actual equipment, then you would get a drift the other way, or a precession the other way. And what was happening was that when he was going in either direction, he was always getting this same precession against his wall inside in this basement. Mm-hmm. So he's in the basement, so he's not even filming the sky. So you couldn't say that he's filming the sky and he's trying to monitor the sky. He's actually filming a basement inside his basement with his basement wall. And, for the reason for that is obviously you've got no wind, you've got nothing that could affect the gyroscope as such. So
makes it more controlled,
I think he was doing it over and over and over again, and he kept getting this same result. And there was a point that there was a time that they wanted to release the information, and I don't mean Bob, and I don't mean the guy that ran it at the time, and I forget his name right now off the top of my head. I can't remember his name.
Jeranism?
No. Mike Kavanagh.
Oh yeah,
Mike
Kavanagh.
Yeah,
the one that tried to sue me. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So, they didn't want them putting out the video for whatever reason, and I think they made an excuse up for what the reason was, but essentially it was all down to the information that was in the video, and the video was quite compelling actually, because it showed the same drift in the same direction, and it showed, I think it was about a 11.5 degree precession, and from his latitude, it would have been about 12 degrees.
Yeah, so it's pretty close
for Earth rotation. So it was essentially within the margin of error, and it was the same direction and everything like that, and could they have that information coming out? Well, I thought so, because, you know, this was FE core. It was supposed to be about engineers that were going out to put this information out and science stuff. And this is part of science, and this gyroscope was incredibly accurate. And when they censored that, and, you know, they kicked out Stefan P from FE core, they kicked out Rick Zimmerman, who also spoke up because he wanted it to go out too. So that was 2 members of FE core they kicked out. I spoke up about it. I got kicked out of FE core. So, you know, you weren't allowed to speak about this. This information was classified. And I think the video did get out eventually, but they didn't want it to get out, and they wanted to sue people who would have released it. They were prepared to sue them. So much so that they had to get legal, you know, they had to ask solicitors for their opinion on whether or not this intellectual property that they were claiming is actually intellectual property that they can use and, you know, sue them for, etc., etc. And, you know, turned out that they couldn't actually do that. So it was like an idle threat, but the threat was still there, you know.
So has all of this, is Stefan P a flat earther now, or?
I believe so. I think he's trying to adjust the gyroscope that he built to do some kind of anti-gravity thing now. That's the last I heard anyway. So I haven't asked him if he's still a flat earther. I would think so. I know he's working still with Rick Zimmerman, but I don't think they're in any kind of you know, sort of like hand in hand with Bob anymore.
Right. Okay. So you had you convinced yourself that the Earth was flat, and you'd done all your research, and you had essentially retired from the debate, right? What brought you back to thinking about the flat Earth?
Just that image. You know, I mean, I'd given the stream over to Brandon. I'd walked away. Everything was changed over to him. My Discord was given away to him too, so he had full control of the Discord, full control of the YouTube channel. I had, you know, a passing interest in it. I still, you know, I think, I can still log into the channel now if I wanted to. I'm sort of like an admin there or something, but I have no control over it whatsoever. It's all Brandon's now, and my only interest in it was just stopping by once a week, let's say, just sitting in the chat, perhaps jumping in every now and then just to say hello to everyone, and basically just to see how well his channel was doing. And, you know, there was a drop off originally when I left, and I gave it all over to Brandon, but it's slowly picked up again, and I think he's getting pretty decent figures now. I know that his figures are better than Nathan Oakley's.
Oh,
He gets more live viewers, and he gets more interaction with the Globers. So he's doing a good job of getting people coming in and supporting the show. And that's proof positive that, you know, the format that I tried to implement over there still works. You know, there's a formula there that works. And clearly Nathan's, which is dying on its feet, let's say, he's gone to this route now of just members only chat, you know.
I can't watch his streams. It's so hard to watch Nathan Oakley's streams. It really, really is. So you, where did you first come across this image from? Was it Bev's, or was it this one, the original one that you saw first? Okay,
so the original one is the white mountains in the background.
Yeah, that's the one I'm showing now.
Yep. So I saw this image. There's actually a bigger image than that. It actually extends a little bit further than that. But, you know, for the argument of what we're focusing on here, which is Blackpool Tower and the relationship to that, and the actual things that you can see on that mountain behind, Dow Crag, etc., you can clearly make out some definitive features of that mountain, which, you know, is much easier to, you know, to show people and say, hey, this is part of the mountain, but it clearly isn't all the mountain, you know, so where's the rest of the mountain? Yeah. And you can go to the left-hand side and you can see, I think I sent you another image, actually.
A longer one, this one, I believe.
Yeah, that one. Actually, you see that one there?
Yeah.
That was sent to the guy that actually did this by Peak Finder. Peak Finder found him on Twitter, contacted him, asked him where he took the observation from, and then matched everything up, and then, we retweeted it back to him. So this is from peakfinder.org.
That's interesting.
.org. Yeah.
Right. So this image was going around, and then where did Bev come into it?
Well, you see, I did a little stint on a Conspiracy Cats video, and Conspiracy Cats put an amazing video out. You have to watch it. It's incredibly well scripted. It's brilliant. I mean, I've listened to that same video about 5 times now. You can watch it. It's like a little documentary. It's brilliant. It's 13 minutes long. The guy should get an award for his creativity and storytelling. When he gets in the car and he goes vroom vroom, and he's a little kid's car and he pushes it. So funny.
He's one of the best.
The truth lies in Southport, you know, and he gets Arwen repeating. Oh, it's just hilarious. I mean, I can't say to anyone, go and watch the Conspiracy Cats video. Anyway, so he watches the so Bev watches the video, and Conspiracy Cats says, anyone can go to this location. This is where I was. I was at the Velvet Trail. This is where I took the observation from, on the car park from the Velvet Trail. Anyone can go there. They can film it themselves. They can see the same image. And Bev, I don't think understood. He's a bit simple. I don't think he understood the ramifications of the video. I don't think he paid attention to the image. I don't think he really paid attention to the video that he was watching. And he just heard, anyone can go to this location and film this place. And so on the Monday, I think it was, so this was released on the Saturday, I think Conspiracy Cats put the video out. It might have been the Friday or Saturday, whatever. And on the Monday, Bev's in the Discord and he's posting an image that was supposedly taken on that day whilst he was in that location. Now, he claims that it wasn't him that actually took the image. It said it's his son that took the image. But he was the one that brought it to the community. So it wasn't his son that brought this image to the community. He posted the image to the community. And I believe he just posted
That's the one at the bottom there, yeah?
Yeah, there's an ever so slight parallax because Bev was maybe 30 or 40 meters to the left of where this original image was taken, which gives you an ever so slightly different parallax. But and I had to do some brightness and contrast on his image too, because it was a bit whitewashed, so it could accentuate the mountains, you know, so you can see all the features on them better. But one thing's for sure is that the parallax is the same. So the relative heights of the tower versus the mountains are the same, and you can also see that's trough next to the Blackpool Tower on the right hand side. You can still see that in Bev's image. So when he put this image out, and he said specifically that it's like this all the time. He said this is where he does his filming. He goes there all the time. He always sees the mountains like that. It's not a big deal. This is always the case. And when he said that, I'm like, oh, right. So we've got a level earther out there, a guy that, everyone trusts Bev, right? And
as far as I can throw him,
the guy's telling us that this is an observation that's seen all the time from this spot, and he provides a photographic image that backs up the image that is presented behind me right now. So he literally validates the observation, and from that point on it was just a slam dunk, because if that is the case, if this is the observation that you see every time, then it's without a shadow of a doubt drop that's going on there, right? Because there are people living at the bottom of that mountain, right? For sure, and they're not living underwater, right? But they would have to be living underwater if we were living on a flat plane. And yet we've got Bev going there, repeating the observation. Hashtag thanks, Bev.
Hashtag thanks, Bev, indeed. And if you would like to get your hashtag thanks, Bev t-shirts and hoodies, the link to Ranty Teespring is in the description. Let me bring up the image so you guys can see. I've posted the link to this in the description. If you want to go and get your hashtag thanks Bev t-shirt or thanks Bev t-shirt or hoodie, I think we should all make sure that Bev is aware how thankful we are for his hard work helping Ranty come back to the globe. So yeah, definitely hashtag thanks Bev.
And can I just say as well, any money that we do make, if we do get anybody buying this T-shirt, I mean, I would be surprised if anyone does. I don't know. This marketing.
I'm ordering one.
Really. Oh, are you? Right. Okay. Well, any profit that we make from that, I promise you, it will be reinvested in the almost unbelievable paranormal podcast with Conspiracy Cats and myself. And we will be using that for things like hosting fee. Well, you know, the fees that goes into the production of the videos, and there's a lot of costs that go into that too. I mean, there's Buzzsprout that costs money. There's Zencaster that costs money. You know, there's other things that go into this, and there's also the images that we've used. Also, they cost quite a lot of money from Shutterstock. So, you know, there's a lot of things that have gone into the actual production and you know, and costs of making that podcast. And we don't get anything back. So, at the moment anyway. So, if we do make any money on this, I promise you, it will be going back into that project.
Well, I really hope you do, because I personally have been very much enjoying the Almost Unbelievable. You know, I've shared it quite a lot, and I've very much enjoyed listening. I think you and Cats are one of the best duos on the internet. You're very easy to listen to. Right, so since
it's enjoyable, it's really enjoyable, and I have to say, Cats is a really nice person, and I don't say that often about a lot of people, but you know, he's such a genuine person. You know, if you ever wanted anything, he's there for you. He's out of the top drawer, absolutely out of the
whenever
top
I need my maths checking, I go to Cats, and he's always happy to help me. So yeah, he's an absolutely awesome bloke. So since you have come out and said that this image has shown to you that the Earth is a globe, because there is the drop there. And if you guys would like to see Ranty, Cats, and Ruhif going over the maths behind this, then please check out the video on Baldy Cat's channel. They go quite deep into all three of them with different ways of doing it, all reaching the same conclusion. I don't think we need to go over that today, but if you do want to see that, then check out Baldy Cat's channel. But since you've come out and said that, thanks to Bev, you're back on the globe side, there's been quite a lot of animosity towards you from the Flat Earth. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I mean, I would say it's 50-50. Look, there's always going to be a segment of the Flat Earth community, and you would pretty much know those people who were going to erupt. You know, you could tell that anyway. I was pretty much prepared for the same eruption from the same people, and it got nasty. You know,
quite quickly, yeah.
My details are out there. People know where I live. They know who I am. They know where I work. They know everything about me. You know, I've never hidden anything from anybody. That's who I am. And, you know, to know that people are out there, you know, threatening harm to you, then, you know.
Yeah, it's deplorable.
Then, you know, you've got to call it out. So I had to call it out. I did a live stream last night with Ali B, and, you know, the chat, it got so bad that I said, I'm going to have to call the police, you know, because I can't have that being said. Now, I didn't call the police, but just the threat of that, I hope, would have worried them enough to think that, you know, if it ever happens again, I will have to do that, because, you know, I'm not a person that runs to the police, but I certainly also can't sit back and just constantly hear threats against me without finally responding. And it got to that bad that I just had to say something. And
well, you've got to think about your safety at the end of the day. I mean, they are probably all idle threats. Just they're angry at you because they do see you as a traitor. I mean, you were on, I think you were in Gem Panda's Discord, and Brian something, or Brian Mullet, whatever his name is, was calling you out, being a traitor, being a sellout, saying, how are you going to sleep at night, etc., etc. And, you know, I would find that quite hard to deal with. If the community that I'm part of now, the Globe community, if they were in that then acting like that towards me, I'd find it quite difficult. So, you know, has it affected you emotionally, or you know, has it made you regret your time being a flat earther because of what's happened?
No, it hasn't. Do I wish that I'd ever started this journey? Well, probably not, because I kind of feel like I've, you know, all the other things that went into all this, was it worth it for me to spend 5 years doing this? And I'd probably say no. You know, I mean, it wasn't. But then again, you know, would I look back and say that, you know, I have bad feelings about things? Well, again, no. You know, I mean, it was just part of life. You know, it's part of who you are and where you end up. You know, and this was just a part of the journey that I ended up on. And my journey, it all started down at the beach one day with my P900, and ever since I first put my first video out, I was basically saying to people, it's flat where I live, and if you can demonstrate where I live that it has curvature, that'll do for me. That's all I wanted. Proof locally where I live, somewhere where I can go to, somewhere I can see this curvature. If there's proof out there, I want to see it, and I'll gladly admit that I was wrong. That I wasn't on a flat plane, and that's all I wanted. And for 5 years, that evidence never brought itself to the table. And
Okay.
out of the blue, when you're least expecting it, and
When you'd
that
walked
image
away
pops
from it,
up.
essentially.
Yeah, and that image popped up, and then I had a choice. Well, do I just not say anything and not tell anybody and just stay away and just keep quiet and not say anything? Or do I bring it to the community and tell people, hey, this is just an image, right? This is just an image, but I had 5,000 people subscribe to me because they liked my images. Well, here's another image, and here we have a level earther telling us that this is always the same image from the same spot, and it's
The white
showing
swan, he
drop.
said.
Yeah, and it's a white swan, and it's showing drop. It's showing a lot of drop, and it cannot be possible on a plane, right? And there's no denying it. So, do you keep it secret and under your hat and just fade away into existence? To just stay away and not bother, or do you come back and do you tell people this new information you found, and let your subscribers know that they should perhaps do their own investigation on this image and
Okay.
make their own mind up, like I've done. And I came to the conclusion, quite rightly, that there's a substantial amount of drop here, and I can't explain it on a flat plane. It's just, there's no explanation for it on a flat plane. There's no argument that you can bring. You can't tell me about optics and trying to find an excuse for optics on a plane, because I know them all, and I tried them all on this, and it didn't work. So, it's just drop. That's it. Only happens.
So,
it can only be on a globe. Or,
was there
triangle.
was there ever any other images that were similar to this? Why this particular image over, for instance, let's say Miles Davis's one like this? What's different in the image that Bev's presented to something like this? Why has that convinced you over other evidence that's been presented?
Well, you can clearly see the difference in quality between the two images, firstly.
Yeah,
right?
That's right.
So, secondly, you also know that when you see those dark mountains in the distance, they can fluctuate, Fermat's principle, etc., a bit of refraction. They can wobble up and down. And thirdly, when you're trying to sort of like get your measurements from the top of Trepaine Hill, and what's the top of this this pole height, and what's the distance in the background, it was all very tricky to get to those. To get those measurements and be confident of those measurements, etc. There was a lot of things going on that just weren't as easy to look at in this other image, and just because there's a known height of Blackpool Tower, there's a known height of the mountains behind it, and there's a direct view from sea level, and that was the important point. It's like that location. I've been to that car park. I know exactly where it is. And I know that it's at sea level, and you can't get a 30 or 40 or 50 meter variance there. It's definitely at sea level. You're talking 8 meters to 12 meters above sea level. So you have definitive proof. You have very, very clear imagery. The mountains are all highlighted with all the ridges and the shadows, and you can see all the valleys and the troughs and the scarring on the mountain. So it's not just the trigonometry that you can use on this to demonstrate that, firstly, the mountains are below Blackpool Tower, whereas on a plane, do you use trigonometry on a plane, they would be higher. And secondly, you could just look at those mountains and say, I can see features on those mountains, and I know where those features are on the mountain. I know the elevations of those, and so I can now scale that mountain and say, where should the bottom of that mountain be in relation to this image? And it is substantially below your line of sight to Blackpool Tower, way down. So you absolutely are looking. There's no denying this. There's no.
So it's the fact that it's closer to the ground, and the clarity behind it, and the lack of apparent refraction in the image, gave you more confidence than all the other evidence. And obviously, this is local to you as well, which is helping your specific. Okay, that's fair enough. That is a question that a lot of people have asked. That there is similar observations. I don't think I've seen anything as clear as this. I would agree with you. But yeah, I did wonder myself why this specific image compared to others did bring you round. Have you ever looked at any of the other images, like Miles Davis' image, and has it made you think? Have you ever had to look at that and think, well, maybe based on this, it is a globe? Or were you quite confident that this wasn't good enough evidence?
Well, I've never right, listen. As a flat earther, you're taught, and I say taught, you are conditioned to be untrustworthy of the globers. So any information that a glober puts out, you are instinctively going to critique. Was he at the exact place that he said? Is he, is he looking at the exact mountain that he's portraying that he's looking at, etc. So you will find ways to find holes in their argument. But this image was different. This was an image that was done by a random guy, not for Flat Earth, but for, raising money for charity. And he put the image out as a charity image that he took from the location in Southport, which has been demonstrated to be the exact location that he took it from. And, there was no ulterior motive with this. It wasn't, and Bev's kindly pointing to where the horizon is, or the horizon would be. So his finger is literally your eye line, right? That's your eye line where his finger is. And I know that because of the location and where, the Ferris wheel is. There's Ferris wheel in there, and I've been able to scale it. And I know Blackpool Tower, and it sits on the Tower Ballroom. So where his finger is where eye line is. And that's around about 350 meters above where the bottom of that mountain would be in the background. And that's a big problem, because that white line at the bottom, you see that white line at the bottom underneath Bev that I've drawn in? That white line is where the bottom of that mountain is.
Right, should be. Based on the geometry that you would do, if the Earth was flat, then the white line would be where his finger is, right?
No.
Okay.
Eye line. So your camera is set to between 8 and 12 meters, right? Your camera above sea level, and his finger is pointing to where if you were leveling the camera out, that's exactly where the horizon would be. That's where the horizon would be, right? Yeah. And on a globe, that mountain, right? As it stands, if you were able to remove Blackpool Tower and Bev and get rid of all that, where that white line is at the bottom is where the bottom of that mountain would be.
Yeah.
So, and I know there's water where he's pointing his finger at. Where Bev's pointing his finger at, I know there's water there. The tide comes in and goes out there, right? So, there's a big white line at the bottom there, and that's 350 meters of drop.
Okay.
And you can't deny it.
No, it is a very good observation that gives a lot of evidence to the globe. Absolutely. I'm sure you've seen a lot of the attempts to debunk it by a lot of the flat earthers. We don't necessarily need to go over those today, but maybe you and I could do a video together going over some of those. That would be interesting.
I've listened to them, mate. I've listened to them. Honestly,
does it hurt your brain?
Yeah.
It does, doesn't it? Welcome to my world.
I mean, listen, these guys came to me to ask me to analyze photographs, right? Because they couldn't do it, right?
Yeah.
And if they did, they always got everything wrong, and it was always, it was just poor. They always came to me for these stuff. And then to listen to them try and come up with reasons why this isn't showing what it shows, it's painful. Because it's just an image. Crying out loud, how difficult can it be? There's just an image. There's just two things in there you need to look at, the tower and the mountains. And you've got some measurements. It's dead easy. You know your observer height. You know the height of that tower, and you know the height of the mountain. You know the distances too. How difficult can it be? A 5-year-old could do it.
I can see that you're very passionate about this as well. And there obviously is a lot of people on your, I could say on your side, it's not your side anymore, on the flat earth side, that are saying that you have been bought off, that you've become a shill, you've been paid off. People have contacted you from your side saying that you've been bought off, right? Which to me is a very silly thing to say, because you walked away from your channel. right? Now, how much was your channel making?
On a bad month, it would make 1,000. On a good month, it would make 2,000.
So let's say you're making 1,500. That you're looking at like a roughly a 20,000 a year income from the channel, right?
Hmm.
Now, if you were being paid off and it's about money, that seems like a stupid thing to walk away from, right? Why
Hmm.
would you walk away from something that is making you what is a good bit of money? That doesn't make sense to me.
Hmm. And I just walked away because I had enough going on in my life, and quite honestly, I didn't want to come. Once I'd had a few months off, 2 months off or so, it wasn't even that. It might have only been 6 weeks off. I got in touch with Brandon and said, "Look, I don't think I'm coming back. I'd intended to come back in the new year." And I said, "But would you be just willing to take over the show full time if I just gave it over to you?" And he said, "Yeah." And I was just tired of it. I was
Hmm.
satisfied for
It is
myself
draining.
that it was. Yeah, I was satisfied it was flat. I didn't need to. I wasn't. I didn't need the arguments anymore. The obfuscations, the nobody conceding anything. It's like imagine you got a World War I going off, and you both dig trenches and you just fire at each other constantly, and there's no ground gained. You know, there isn't. Nobody makes any ground.
That's
And
why I do put the quotation marks around the word debate in my streams because it never goes anywhere, and for me, it's more about the entertainment. So, as you now think the Earth is a globe, does that mean that the debate you and I had that I won?
no,
Oh,
because I think because I educated you on the effects of these inferior mirages and things. I mean, you had to understand what was going on there, my friend.
aye, but I was still right in the end, right?
Yeah, it would appear so. Yeah, I'll concede that.
Way
I'll concede
victory.
that.
Okay, now before we get to some questions from the audience, can I just ask you for your general thoughts on the flat Earth movement at the moment?
It's very vitriolic, and I. This is another reason why I didn't want to come back, because the it's very hostile. People are just very hostile to each other, and I don't need that in my life. I never wanted that on my channel, and I never wanted it. But it seems to have crept in, and there are people inside of the debate that are very passionate about things, and they get very heated and very argumentative and rowing and screaming and shouting. And I suppose it's good for entertainment. I mean, if you've got a bit of screaming and shouting going on, but that isn't really me. I'm not really that interested in that. So how do I see the situation? For me personally, it isn't a situation that I think's a very productive place to be.
Yeah,
It's just a place that if you're a flat earther, you are. It doesn't matter what channel you go to on a flat Earth channel, which debate platform you go to. Essentially, you are going to get coaxed around to believing that it's a flat plane at every opportunity. And even on Brandon's show last night, and me and Brandon won't fall out over this, but I will still call a spade, and
yeah.
say that when this image it's just an image that shouldn't take a lot of analysis. It really shouldn't. It shouldn't be that hard to look at this image and figure out what's going on. But yeah, to just constantly hear from last night's show at least that this isn't a flat Earth. This isn't a globe Earth proof. There's no curvature here. There's no curvature. This is what I heard Brandon keep saying. There is no curvature here. And I'm
Denial.
thinking, but just saying that and repeating it to your audience, it's not. It's really not demonstrating why, because it really is obvious. But so you can only be saying that to sort of like pacify the audience, because you know that the majority of the people in the audience are flat earthers. So for me personally, that isn't how I would have done it. I wouldn't have run my stream like, if I was still doing my show at this time, I would have put this video out, or this image out, and I'd have said, this show's dropped. We need to find an answer. We have to find an answer, and I'm not going to stop until I find an answer. That's what I would have done. And to just dismiss it and say that there's no proof of curvature here. There is no, like religiously, there's no proof of curvature here. There's no curvature seen in this image. I don't know what Ranty's saying. There's no proof of image, proof of curvature. when it's quite clear that that's exactly what it is showing. You know, that seems to me like it's just turning into some kind of church, you know, a bit like Nathan's. So if you go to, you know, so if you are a flat earther caught up in the flat earth debates right now, and you are listening to those streams, you will be coaxed back to the flat earth and told misinformation about this image, when it just needs you to just look at it and work it out. And, you know, people trusted me in the flat earth community to be able to look at an image and figure a lot of stuff out for them, and I would give them all the information, and they would tell what was in there, you know, and they pretended that it was they that did all the information. It was me, but they came to me because I was the guy that would come to for images and stuff like this. And I'm just saying that this image shows drop, and then the next thing, everyone's trying to say that it's not showing drop, when it's clear as day that it is. And it's just, to me, I wouldn't say it's well, it is disingenuous. I'm not gonna lie, it is disingenuous.
Yeah, it's pure denial, which is, as a glober, something I deal with quite often. Okay, so I'm going to go over super chats. I'm only going to read the super chats right now that are for Ranty, and then at the end I'll read the rest of them. So, right, the first
are
one...
all the super chats for me tonight as well?
not for you, but towards you. Let's not get into a Roxanne situation.
I'm sure you said they were for me before the show.
I'm trying to get my lawyer on the phone. Hi, Riley. Yeah. Wait, what's that, Riley?
I'm a dumb flat earther, and I don't understand science.
Oh, right. Okay, no worries. Right, so we've got... where is this? Spud UK 78 chips for £5 says, Ranty, what is the one piece of advice that you would have for other people that are on the fence or trying to leave the flat earth?
Try and trust people try and put your trust in people that you feel are trustworthy. So if there are flat earthers out there doing research, or there are people in the community that are, you know, more open to being, let's say, a proper truther than just a flat earther, then put your trust into them and listen to what they say, rather than and I'm going to say quote zealots, but in quote unquote, so quote unquote zealots, because there are a lot of fanatics out there that will, you know, tell you that the sky's green with pink dots on.
Only when I've had a lot to drink. So TNAV for $10 says, looking back after analysing this particular photo, do you acknowledge that previous things you'd seen dismissed were also evidence pointing towards a globe?
No.
No. You still think that all the other observations you made demonstrate the water could be flat?
Yes. And I am working on some research.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lumber cats in with this, but he is helping me, providing me with citations and information from scholars in that field, where it may be possible to show that you can have bodies of water that lay flatter than in other places, enough so that you can see these distances that negates the curvature. So it removes the idea that you can have looming. It replaces looming, but it also gives you the globe. So in a lot of ways, then a lot of the dismissals from flat earthers, which is, we don't believe in looming, we don't believe in things looming up from behind the curvature. But if there was a physical, you know, the topography of the water was flat, but it was caused by the earth, you know, if the cause was the globe to cause the flatter water, then just around the coastlines, bearing in mind, not on the whole, just around the coastlines. And there is evidence out there to suggest that is possible. So it's just a theory at the moment. So would I dismiss it out of hand right now? No, because I still don't believe that things are lifted up behind Earth curvature. I will always argue against that until I get proven otherwise. But
so,
you know,
so you're still at odds with, say, Mick Weston, terrestrial refraction and stuff. There's still things that you have questions about regarding those, you know, 7/6R, etc. And
well, yeah, it's the looming side of things. It's not. It's nothing to do with stooping or towering or compression or anything like that. It's to do with looming. The one thing, you know, the idea that an image can be lifted up behind Earth curvature, and all flat earthers to a T will say that they don't believe that. And I think even to the layman, it sounds a bit ludicrous if you just go down the beach and say, "Hey, look at that hologram over there," you know, and you're looking at a building over the way, and you'd say, "Look at that hologram there," and look at that hologram over there. People would be looking at you like you were a fool, you know. But you know, if you was able to demonstrate that, okay, locally around the coastlines, you can get flatter water, you know, because of this and this, and it's part of the globe, it's part of research that other people are doing, you know, that are actually got this verified information out there that can help demonstrate that, then it might satisfy a lot of flat earthers, and it might also incorporate it into the globe model, and to say,
Okay.
well, next time you see a black swan and you see something at 10 miles, yeah, well, that's just part of the nature of our reality. That's what you need, this flat water on the globe, you know. And I think that is, I think that's right. Whether or not it gets proven to go anywhere, I don't know, but it's just a theory at the moment. And hopefully we'll put the information out and we'll let other people run with it and decide what to do, what they want to do with that.
There's
You know,
nothing
they
wrong with
can
still
take
having
it further or not.
questions. You know, I think you've shown that you can be honest with yourself, which is a great thing. So second best Bob for £5 says, it's great Ranty is back to the globe. Have you reconsidered any of your other more diverse conspiracy theory ideas? Chemtrails, etc.
I'm sorry, I spazzed out for a second. Can you repeat that?
Have you reconsidered any of your other conspiracy ideas, like chemtrails and things like that? Or is it
Well,
just
you know,
flatter if you're off with it now?
I'm not looking into any kind of conspiracies at the minute. I'm just focusing on the paranormal podcast with cats. So that's the only thing
Which
I'm
is
interested
incredible.
in right now. I'm not, you know, the rest of the stuff can just other people can deal with that. You know,
Yeah.
My mind has spent the last 15 years on conspiracies, and I've given enough time to the conspiracies now. Now it's time for me to just get back to reality and just get on with leading my life the best way I can, doing a decent podcast with cats and bringing entertainment to people that doesn't involve conspiracies.
So you've got no intention of coming back to the debate, you know, or anything like that. You're content to kind of move on with what you've got. That's
Yeah, a lot
cool.
of people have asked me, set up a Globe Earth channel and we'll subscribe over there and do all this and set up a debate platform for the Globers and
Ranty Globe Earth.
No, I couldn't put myself through it again. I'm sorry, but
He's a great globe
yeah,
prover. Okay, so Fred Durst for $5 asks, why did Cats want to do a podcast with you?
I don't know. I mean, he just he contacted me out of the blue and he just said, you know, do you want to do a podcast with me? And I ignored him, and then he sent me again, and I responded, and I don't know. I suppose maybe it was just because he thought he could work with me. I think just because he probably
Well,
thought.
I'm glad he did.
Yeah.
Huge Arse for $4.49 Australian says, do you now see Flerfs as we do, zealous fools?
Look, when it comes to this image, yes, I am definitely seeing that, because the denial of this is ridiculous. It's an image. Look, people are allowed to have the black swans and the white swans, right? They're allowed to have them. If this turns out to be a white swan, just be honest about it and hold your hands up and go, yeah, okay, it's a white swan. We can't answer it on the flat earth, but that doesn't mean that we haven't got another 1,000 images that show shore-to-shore observations, right? So you can always counter with that, but you've got to accept that this is just an image and it shows what it shows. Don't be zealous about it and say that there isn't earth curvature here, you know, or that there's no drop. Don't be a zealot about it, because you are denying it to yourself. You are lying to yourself if you say that. When the words come out of your mouth, you know you are lying, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And it does. It frustrates me when I hear the excuses being put out for this image. Beyond frustrates me.
I'm glad to hear you say that. Second best Bob for £5 says, do you remember Nathan Oakley constantly calling Brenda it on one stream?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, I think we all know that Nathan Oakley isn't a nice person. Whichever side you're on, he's just not a nice person. Gently's channel for £5 says, this is for Ranty, laughy face.
Thanks, Gently. Gently was always over on supporting me, actually.
Gently's
on
awesome.
the round table as well. So
Yeah.
nice to see that he's here supporting you as well.
Right, I'm only reading out the specific questions for Ranty at the moment, so just bear with me while I look for these. What's it here? I know. All right, so Seek Truth, Speak Truth, another ex-flat earther, for £5 says, I know it's soon, but have you questioned whether NASA are legit yet?
I'm not bothered. To be honest, I was never really fussed about that argument anyway. It wasn't my argument. The only argument I had was, I can see too far where I live. Prove me wrong. that was it. That was all I ever wanted, and that was my personal journey from the minute I picked up the camera until the minute I left this argument, which was literally, I see too far and I'm going to keep filming too far until it gets proven to me otherwise. And nobody proved it to me otherwise until I proved it to myself when I saw this image. And when Bev repeated it and went back and told me that this is nothing out of the ordinary, it always looks that way. Hashtag thanks, Bev. Please find the Teespring hashtag thanks, Bev t-shirts.
Link in the description. Like I said, guys, I think we should just put this at the top here. Hashtag thanks, Bev. Definitely.
Hashtag thanks, Bev. I've got t-shirts out there. It's gonna fund me and Cats if anyone buys it, and it'll give a bit
link
of a
in the description of this video, guys, if you want to support the almost unbelievable podcast, which again I can't say enough how much I enjoy. Rodent No Last Name says, for $5, Ranty, how many flat earthers do you think are lying about their beliefs?
Do you know, I never thought about it, to be honest. I never really considered that people were lying about it. I guess because, I've always just taken people at the word, I've never thought that they were anything other than what they said they were. I'm not that type of person that would just judge somebody.
So I guess it sucks to learn what certain people are like then.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the backstabbing that went on and a lot of the things that happened, to me in the last couple of years or so, that was hard to take, because it just showed people's true colours and, yeah. Anyway.
Alison for $5 Australian says, welcome back to reality. How have your former followers reacted to you coming out as a Glober? Also, kudos for using honesty instead of denial. Yeah, so like the people that followed you on your channel for years, have any of them reached out to you and, expressed their feelings about you coming over to the Globe side?
Yeah, I've had some emails from people and, nice emails. And also if you listen to some of the streams, and Brandon, for instance, says nothing's going to change between him and I. We're still friends. It doesn't matter if I've gone back to the Globe. That's my personal opinion. And a lot of other people too have said that, panelists that were on there that have known me, because I was always just down the line, show me proof locally where the curvature is. And, I finally got that proof. So for me personally, that's enough for me. I'm not too bothered about any of the other proofs. It didn't really bother me. For other people to change, it may need something to prove to them that you can have gas pressure next to a container. Gas pressure without a container. So
which Nathan has done a 180 on. Did you know that?
Right. No.
Yeah, in his stream, I think yesterday, he's literally done a 180 on the whole gas pressure requiring a container thing. It's very interesting.
Well, what I mean is, my standard of proof was just very local. Show me curvature local to me. That's all I wanted. I wasn't interested in the rest of the arguments. Mean nothing to me as long as I can see curvature where I live. So if I see curvature where I live, I know I'm on a globe, and then the rest of it all fits. I don't need to look any further. I don't need to ask about gas pressure. But when I see, so it was a very simple thing that I requested. Show me curvature where I live. Yeah, and I've seen it. I've got it now. I've got the proof I need. And it was just very easy for me to go back to the Globe based upon that. Other people may need a bigger proof, but for me, that was the big enough proof that I needed.
We've got, sorry if I ruined this name, Sigid Maliev for $55 Nokia dollars. What does Ranty think about space travel and the moon landings? I think Ranty has said that he doesn't really care about them. Do you have an opinion on whether they're real or not?
The space landings, well, I think people may, just because if you ask the community at large and did a random questionnaire between 1,000 people, I think you probably find that it might be very split. There might be half the people say we went to the moon, half the people say we didn't. But if you ask every Globe Earth channel, including yourself, did we go to the moon? Your obvious response will be, of course we did, because you follow in a mainstream narrative. But a lot of people are very skeptical about whether we actually did go to the moon or not, based upon a lot of obvious reasons. traveling through the Van Allen belt. You know, the fact that, you know, they didn't even know that existed. The fact that the astronauts, after they came back, looked like everyone's grandma had just died on the same day, and they were just going to hold a press conference. Not that they'd just come back from the moon. So there are reasons to suspect that maybe we didn't go to the moon, and the reasons they fabricated that was perhaps because of maybe it ended the Cold War. You know, because there was a Cold War going on. It was a different time, different era. So
there was definitely a space race, that's for sure.
So yeah, I mean, does it necessarily mean that we went to the moon? No. Does it mean that we could still go to the moon? Well, absolutely. There seems to be a big push to try and get to the moon, and and to try and get to sort of space. So I wouldn't say that isn't a possibility. But did we go in the 60s? I would say no. But that doesn't mean that I'm not a globe earther, just because I'm saying that.
No, you can disbelieve the moon landings and still think the Earth's a globe. I mean, that's a different conversation. Obviously, I do think we went to the moon, but it's not really a place for a debate about that right now. Quinlan 1977 for €5 says, so Ranty, do you acknowledge the existence of gravity in space and the other planets, etc., etc.? The general heliocentric model.
Well, I'm coming around to I was never one to believe in gravity, but I'm starting to try and incorporate gravity into new lines of research. And so, having to go back to that idea and incorporate it and look at the effects of gravity on the water near the coastlines and stuff, you can actually see that there are fluctuations. So that would fall into the idea that in certain locations you can see flatter water. And if I was to ask you what's the highest mountain in the world away from the center of the Earth, where would you say?
Everest?
You'd be wrong, though.
Probably.
The highest mountain is much higher than that, and it's thousands of feet below the water.
Ah, right. Yes, of course. Yeah. So we're not talking about like highest in elevation above sea level, just the actual height of the mountain itself.
Away from the center of the Earth, when you consider that, okay, well, that's a big bulge of water, isn't it? Yeah. That's not spherical. That's more bulbous.
Stringer News 1 for $5 says, how many flat earthers does it take to change a light bulb?
7.
They can't change it, but they spend hours claiming there's no curvature there. But
right, I get it.
Right, that's all the super chats that have questions for Ranty, and I will read the rest of the super chats after I've just my moderators have sent me a few other questions. I don't want to keep Ranty too much longer, say another 15-20 minutes at the most, and then we close down. Karen says, FTFE, I'm interested to know how Ranty now views stuff like NASA videos. Does he think he was lying to himself or some such?
I'm not going to stress myself over it.
Yeah, it's fair enough.
I'm not going to worry about it. I'm just going to see what happens in the news, basically, where the news takes me. And if I can get on a plane in 15 years' time and go into the stratosphere, well, wherever, and look down at curvature, it just happens to be that way. Am I going to worry about checking every month whether we've had that ability to do that? No, I'm not going to worry about that. I'll just see what happens going down the line.
David Cams says, why though? Why this one image, mate? I don't buy it.
Because it's all I ever wanted. Show me proof locally to where I live that the Earth's curving. Because I don't experience it. From where I film over what appears to be flat water. Almost exclusively every time. But yet, and so I was living on that, saying, this is my proof. My proof is that where I live, we don't have curvature. I don't see curvature. I don't experience it. I don't have it. And then this image popped up and completely proved me wrong.
Excellent. Robski says, does Ranty feel that getting out of the everyday involvement in Flat Earth by leaving his old channel helped him see the light? So did having that break away, did that help you, or were you still at that point pretty convinced that the Earth was flat?
See, that's a tough one. I'd say that stepping away from the debates and stepping away from the community for a time definitely helped my mental state. Definitely helped me. would
Okay.
I say that would I say that that was the reason that I was able to change from the globe? No, because if I'd still been in the community and still seen this image, I would have still brought this image to the community, and I'd probably be in the same situation right now as I was, as I would have been, telling everybody that this is proof of drop. And because that's what I'd always done. I always brought images to the community that appeared to show problems for the flat earthers, but it's just an image, it's reality, and if you can't explain it, you've got a problem. And this was an image that it's not even ambiguous. There's no it may be this or it may be that. I mean, it's beyond definitive. It's absolute proof.
It's extremely good evidence. I will agree with you. There's some bald-headed twat in the chat, Baldy Cats or something. You might know him. He says, ask him if we should live stream a pool match marathon.
Yes, hell's bells. Yes, he's going to.
That sounds like fun.
He says he's a really good player, right? He said he's a really, really good player. And do you know how many times I've heard that? Oh, I always get people saying, I get so disappointed when they turn up and they play like a complete moron, right?
Oh, you're pretty good at pool then, are you?
He thinks he's really good. I'm very good. Yeah, I'm very, very good. And we spoke about this, and we said that we were going to have a marathon session one time, and we would stream it, and just to see whether or not we could make some money for charity. So I thought that would be an interesting thing to do. A live pool charity event. Me versus.
That sounds fun. I like the idea of that. So Sean Mann says, can you ask Ranty if he knows personally of any people that he's turned to Flat Earth, and if so, what he now thinks about those people?
Oh, well, apart from family, I really didn't speak about it much. Very close friends, but I haven't really spoken to my really close friends, again in a couple of years or so, COVID and everything else that's gone down. So as for trying to convert people in, sort of like people that I knew or whatever, no, I didn't really push it. I didn't really involve it on them. I only interacted with people online. I didn't get out there and do what other people are doing and go out with placards and, screaming and shouting at kids through, school kids. I didn't do any of that. That wasn't me.
Yeah.
I wasn't some lunatic,
Baldy Cat says that he played at county level, so you better watch out.
Yeah, I played at county level with my left hand.
Oh, fighting words. I'm liking this. Right, so this one's a bit controversial. Miles Davis says, would Ranty like to apologise to me?
No.
Not sure why you should. Maybe there was a falling out you two had. But we've discussed the picture. Yeah, I mean, you both disagreed, I guess, but we've gone over the picture and why Ranty wouldn't accept that as evidence. I don't think Ranty owes anyone an apology. I think he spent a lot of time in the Flat Earth movement giving himself evidence, and out of all the Flat Earthers, I think he was probably the most honest. And he's continued to be honest with himself enough that he's come out of the Flat Earth. So I think asking for Ranty for an apology is a bit counterintuitive, because at this point, I think we should just accept what's happened, give him support if he needs it, and move forward, instead of going, oh, well, you said this to me in the past. That won't really resolve anything. I understand Miles Davis has done a lot to try and demonstrate that the Earth's a globe, and, Ranty was a flat earther for a long time. But I don't think we're at the stage where we need to start pointing fingers and say, you need to give me an apology. That's just my opinion.
You forget it was our job as flat earthers to disagree with the globe earthers, just as it's the same job as the globe earthers to disagree with the flat earthers. And there was some images that I put out that have never been debunked. I mean, my shore-to-shore observations from in the sand, a couple of inches off the water, they've never been debunked, apart from somebody saying it must have been an infinite over 6R refraction, or greater than. And, so actually, so those images, would never got debunked. But As to say that, do I owe anyone an apology? No, I don't believe I do, because
I don't think so.
you're in an argument with someone. You're trying to win your argument by providing proof, and if you don't provide the proof that they're looking for, then you're not going to win them over. If you'd gone down and taken this photograph, Miles, of like Bev did, if you'd gone down and done what Bev did, it would have been thanks Miles, hashtag thanks Miles, not hashtag thanks Bev. But
yeah, thanks Bev. And there is a new thanks Bev emoji in the chat for members, by the way. So feel free to use that. In honor of Ranty, we have a new thanks Bev emoji. We've got Team Skeptic in the chat. How you doing, dude? He says, Ranty, how do you feel about anyone that you may have influenced to become flat earthers that you didn't realize? Do you feel bad for them? But like you said, you didn't really.
I was following my own truth. I mean, that's the other thing.
Yeah.
You see, I mean, my journey was just a personal journey, and I ended up, I ended up in a situation where I never like, you came into the community to create a channel and create a platform and make it what you made it. I didn't come into that for this. I came in for it for my own personal reasons, got swept up by Sleeping Warrior, got brought into the Flat Earth debates to show my observations, ended up falling on my sword and arguing with these guys and wanting to give a voice to the community for the Globers to come to. Which is why I set up the debate platform. So I sort of ended up falling into these. I was always sort of just ended up being pushed into these situations that I never intended to set out to be in that anyway. It was just my personal journey, and that's where I ended up. And people followed me because I was always just honest and giving people a good crack of the whip wherever they came. And I was just, people liked that about me. And yeah, people followed me, 5,000 subscribers, which is pretty good considering that.
That's like in the top 8% of all YouTube channels. So, that's really not bad.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, now that is all the questions, I think, from the audience. I've brought MC Toon in just briefly because he had something that he would like to say to you. Toon, welcome to the channel.
Hello there.
Hey, Toon.
Hey, I just want to say congratulations. If you remember the last super chat I sent you, I was talking about integrity, and that's why you're here.
Thank you.
So
yeah, I think he's being extremely honest with himself, and that's really good to see, because Toon, you know as well as I do that so many flat earthers are just dishonest.
yeah.
And I'm getting nothing but honesty from Ranty. That's my personal feeling, is that during this nearly 2 hours that we've been talking, Ranty, I've had nothing but honesty from you. And yeah, congratulations for being honest with yourself and sticking to your personal standard of evidence. I think that's what's brought you round eventually, is your own standard of evidence, right?
Yeah, it's just what I needed a proof for me. That's all I was ever after. And as soon as I got that proof, I was happy. I didn't need to know any of the other arguments or ask about, is space real, or any of that. I didn't need any of that. I just needed to see Earth curvature where I live. When you've got that, you've got everything. Everything else falls into place. You've got your gravity. You've got your spinning ball. You've got gas pressure next to a container. You've got all of that because you've got drop local. So for me, it was just a case of, if I can see that, I can't see space. Like I'm not going to be on a rocket and see the Earth curvature from space, right? I'm not going to ever see that. But if I can see Earth curvature local to me, where I can just go to this place and see it, then I've got everything I need.
That's awesome.
It all falls apart after that, right? It lines up or falls apart.
Yeah. In fact, it's the best proof that you could come up with, because it gives you everything. Everything else from that follows on. Once you know that you've got drop, where you live, then everything else just follows on.
Now, one thing I want to say, Ranty, is that I did watch your roundtable quite often, because it was one of the Flat Earth debate shows that didn't make me want to slit my throat whilst watching it. And I think that you look and sound a lot more healthy than you did back then. I think the Flat Earth was taking its toll on you, wasn't it?
Running that show, and then also, doing a full-time job as well. I mean, I was getting to sleep at maybe 3 o'clock in the morning and being up at 6 o'clock to go to work again. And I was doing that for about 18 months or so. And you're right, it did. It took its toll. I mean, when you went to bed, you weren't going to sleep straight away. You know, you were still thinking of the arguments you'd had or the discussions that had been brought forth, or, you know, I mean, it was just always on your mind. You know, even when you were at work, it was draining because you was working, but you was also thinking about an argument that might have gone on the night before and what you were going to bring out to counter that for that day. So you're always your mind's constantly working too. Well, at least mine was. I was so, honestly, I mean, when I say that I was thinking of Flat Earth 24/7, it seemed like that, because that's all I eat, you know, that's all I thought about for 5 years. So I was constantly trying to figure things out and host these shows. And it was nice when I took that break and I switched off and just completely just tuned out, zoned out, and just didn't even take one look. I soon realized that I didn't miss it. You know, that actually I didn't want to come back to it. I wanted Brandon to take over. I wanted him to run the show from now on, and I could just step away.
Was that a weight off of your shoulders when you came to that realization?
Yeah,
I think it's done you a lot of good. I really do.
I didn't even know I needed it. You know, no. I didn't know I needed it until I took the step away. And when I took the step away, I realized that I absolutely did need that, and you know that I probably needed it for a very long time. But,
yeah,
I have a question.
Yeah, go on.
You said if was it LK or Miles Davis? If Miles Davis had taken that picture, that would have been fine. Do you think it had some impact on you that it came from Bev, and you know that Bev wouldn't have manipulated it to show the globe, but it still came through?
Yeah, that's the other thing. You see, it came from a level earther, somebody that went there on the day, couldn't wait to put the same image out, because I don't think that he'd appreciated the gravity of the evidence that had been put forth in the video with Conspiracy Cats. So when Conspiracy Cats put the video out, I don't think he listened to the argument that I briefly discussed in that about the drop and how much is missing. And I think because Bev and I have had a troubled past, let's say, and he has a lot of problems with a lot of people. So I'm not just going to say that it's just with me, on both sides. So I think he had always wanted to try and go after me for some reason. I don't know why. I just don't know. He always felt like he was just trying to push his way into something. Oh, it's hard to explain. It really is. But I think he put that image out expecting, I don't know what the big fuss is about. It's always like that, you know, because it was clear that he hadn't watched the video. So I don't think he was understanding what he was actually doing when he was rushing to put that information out. I think he was rushing to put it out to try and bring down myself and Conspiracy Cats without actually realizing that he was validating the observation and proving beyond a shadow of a doubt that that is the image taken from that location that is showing drop. So it's all on him, and it is, because thanks Bev, hashtag thanks Bev, what can I say?
Hashtag thanks Bev, indeed. Right, okay, we've been going for close to 2 hours, so I'm going to read the rest of the super chats. Yeah, thank you for coming on, MC Toon. Guys, make sure you subscribe to Toon as well. Later. I'm going to read the rest of the super chats, then we're going to get out of here. Ranty, I want to, from the bottom of my heart, say thank you for coming on and bearing your heart the way you have. I appreciate you answering all the questions as honestly as you could. Do you have any final thoughts?
Final thoughts? No, thank you for having me on. Thanks for shouting out the Almost Unbelievable channel. Which
no worries, I love it. I absolutely love it. Honestly.
So, I think we had close to 1,000 subs as well. I think we were on 998 the last time.
Yeah, you're getting there.
So we're very close to that 1,000 subscriber mark, which is great. And yeah, so if you want to follow us there, that would be great. And yeah, thanks for hosting us. Thanks for showing off the Bev t-shirts. Well, the hashtag thanks Bev.
No worries. Well. Yeah, I'll show those again. And if you would like one of these awesome thanks Bev hoodies or t-shirts, then the link is in the description. Any money that is raised from this will go towards helping the Almost Unbelievable channel and podcast be as good as it can be. And again, if you're not subscribed to Cats and Ranty's podcast and channel, you're missing out, guys. I can't stress enough how how much fun I have listening to the channel. It's a different type of crazy that makes you think, oh, well, maybe it isn't crazy. Wait, what is that? Could that happen? So many stories I've listened to on that, and it just made me think about, oh, wait, oh, maybe they did experience that. It's, you know, it's crazy. It's hard to explain the feelings you get when listening to stories from people that are convinced that they've had an experience like that. Like mine. I imagine when people listen to my story, they were a bit confused because I'm such a logical and scientific person, but I've got this very vivid memory of this strange experience. And to hear those kind of stories, you know, alternate realities, paranormal stuff, talked about in the way that it is done on the Almost Unbelievable podcast is fantastic. So yeah, seriously, subscribe, guys. Honestly. Ranty, thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it. I know it's quite late and everything. Thank you for coming on. Thank you for being honest, and good luck in everything that you're doing. And if you ever want any talks about anything, if you've ever got any questions about the globe, I'm always free to talk as well.
Okay,
yeah, thank you very much, bud.
Thanks for the offer, and thanks to everyone for listening. And if you take anything away from this, just take away that everything I've told you tonight has been as honest as I could. Everything from the bottom of my heart.
Thank you, Ranty. I'm going to close down the Zoom call now. I want to say again, thank you very much, and hashtag thanks, Bev.
Hashtag thanks, Bev.
See you later, dude.
See you later.
Well, that was absolutely fantastic. I really, really enjoyed that talk with Ranty. That was a very different type of talk with someone who was very involved in the flat earth scene. I'm going to go through the rest of the super chats now, and then I'm going to close down. I just want to say there's been like 700 plus people watching, and that's mind-blowing as always. The support that I constantly get makes me ecstatic. I love doing this. I love providing entertainment for you guys, and I hope that you've enjoyed this. The sixth interview of an ex-flat earther that I've done now, and I think this is definitely the best one. Thank you very much for everyone that super chatted. Again, the support blows my mind. I know not everybody is able to super chat. It's a tough world at the moment. So everyone that does, the generosity is incredible. The memberships and the patrons, I can't say thank you enough. If you are not able to super chat or support the channel financially, the absolute best way that you can help my content is to share my stuff on Facebook and Twitter. 60% of the views that I get come from social media, about 2/3 of those from Facebook. So if you share my streams and my videos and my shorts and stuff on Facebook and Twitter, it massively, massively helps the channel. Right, let's read the rest of the super chats. I only read out the ones that were specifically questions to Ranty. So I'm going to read the rest of them now. We got first one was from Brendan Cuskelly for 10 Australian dollars. Well, I hope to be listening to this in my truck today. Well, I hope you did and you had a good time. Robib says for $5. Whoa, I hope Brendan Cuskelly gets to listen to this in his truck today. Yeah, me too. Shimoku Fuji Warrior for 10 rupees says, FTFE, why are you so geometrically racist and allow only angles 60 degrees in an equilateral triangle? Non-Euclidean geometry exists. Our reality is. Yes, but those are called spherical triangles. A triangle has 180 degrees. A spherical triangle has more than 180 degrees. Read that one. High Plains Drafter for $5 says, Ranty deserves credit for being intellectually honest when facing evidence he recognizes. Flat Earth community are in a panic. Yes, they most absolutely are. Illuminous Poo for $5 says, Nemesis wanted. I'm in the hiking and kayaking by day, justice and vengeance by night, crime lord or deformed megalomaniac preferred. Welcome back, Ranty. Yeah, I can be a supervillain if you like. Just launch the nukes. Yeah, I don't care. Just launch. Yeah, deal with that. Romops for £5 says, just joined, but good to see someone brave enough to actually be intellectually honest and change his mind when evaluating the evidence. Hashtag thanks, Bev. Angie Flores for $5 says, huge bombshell, fellas. Earth is hollow. Let's see raw images of both 90 degrees north and 90 degrees south. You can't, doesn't exist. Talk about the holes in the pools. There is no holes in the pools. I think you've watched Godzilla versus King Kong because hollow Earth isn't real. High Plains Drafter for $3. Ranty escaped the village. Prisoner UK TV series. Richard Puder said for $5 says, I always felt you didn't belong with the Flerfs. While you did occasionally do the crazy Flerf thing, you were clearly much more sane and more honest. Yep, I always thought Ranty was one of the more honest Flerfs. Carl Christopherson for 20 secs. Oh, I do like the sex. Brandon is live. Maybe go with Ranty and say hi. Yeah, Ranty was saying that Brandon's channel was doing all right, but ever since Ranty left, it's... Then we've got STE for £5, Globe Earther, but I liked Ranty even when he was a flat earther because he tried to show what he believed to be true. You have to respect that. Then another £2 says, and just to add, I love the podcast with cats. Yeah, me too. Mr. Sensible for £2, who will be back on Stupidity is Not a Right this weekend. Ranty, get threats, go to police. Way to go, pal. Yeah, it's not okay to threaten people because they think something different to you. The amount of times flat earthers threaten me with violence is ridiculous. Seek truth, speak truth. No, we read that one. No, read that one again. That one. Firmament Maintenance Inc. for 100 Czechoslovakian dollars, I think. Careful, Ranty. The sudden move from being flat earther to realization that the flat earth community is filled with toxic dimwits might give you whiplash. Hashtag thanks, Bev. I think he has realized that the toxicity in the flat earth is pretty bad. Dargesh890 for $5. Ranty, I very much appreciate you following the evidence instead of forcing the evidence to fit your preconceived conclusion, which is what most flat earthers do. Further Dwarf and sub to Globers and Goblins. Sub to Globers and Goblins, my Dungeons and Dragons channel. $1 with no message, thank you. Seek Truth, Speak Truth, £2 says that's a shame, NASA are awesome. Yes, they did, and congratulations once again to the NASA team for flying the first powered aircraft on another planet. Free Gemini for $5 says, Ranty, can you give opinions on the looming demonstrate? Oh, I must have missed that one. I'm sorry when I was asking Ranty questions. But I did actually show him, you're talking about the video where it shows the blue and red, the green and red plasticine being brought back over when the guy drops the cold liquid on. And I think I showed him that before and he didn't take it as evidence of looming. So, yeah. Draco Fire for $5 says, Ranty, 8 months ago you faced me in the first live debate. You said some dumb stuff that time. I'm ecstatic to see you come back to reality. I think we all are. David Oliver for £10 says, yeah, let bygones be bygones. Past is the past. I've always liked Ranty's attitude. I have a lot of respect for Ranty, especially when he super chatted to Mr. Sensible. Yeah, I think Ranty's awesome. And yeah, you heard, I won the debate that we had. Let me just see if there's any more. Fohammer 335 $5. Ranty, even as a flat earther, I never disliked you. You're a decent human either way. Keep up the good work with the boldest guy in the community. Yeah. Cats and Ranty's podcast is amazing. And Nap Snaps for $2. Lol, Bev is trying to make hashtag sorry Ranty work now. Yeah, it's not going to work. Hashtag thanks, Bev. That is all the super chats, guys. I want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart for supporting this channel, for being an amazingly awesome community. Hopefully there'll be another debate in the next day or so. I'm working out time zones with a guy in India, so that could be fun. And I am working on my script for the next video, which is a collaboration with Jesse102. So please look forward to that. For now, I'm going to go. I might pop over to Team Skeptics channel and say hi over there. Remember, stupidity is not a right. Fight the flat earth. Fight the flat. 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 Fight the flat.